Hello and welcome to the second video. In my previous video, we talked about the resource-based view, what kind of resources we have in themes and where to find them. Because some resources are easy to evaluate. For instance, those which are tangible resources, they're in balance sheets, so you can find them. And very often balance sheets are even openly available for the organization that have undergone an IPO, for instance. With the intangible resources and human resources, it is already harder, but it is possible. What is important, especially regarding the human resources, because it's about people, and these are those people who will do something with your resources, which means they can develop a capability. Of course, it will depend on people. Some people are good in something and will develop something better of what you have. So somebody will just use a car to drive from home to work, and somebody will use the car in order to also offer the cab or taxi services somewhere, hire somebody who will drive the car while he or she is sleeping during the night shift, for instance, and during the day use the car for something else. The opportunities of what to do with the car, you can just rent the car to somebody else and make them do something. So there are many opportunities, and it's within your head. The same relates to organizations. The organization, they also have something within their heads. It's like less like individual people, but still organizations know what they can do with the resources. And what is important by the capability is about doing something with the resource. It means it's about doing, it's about making, it's about activity of something. That is why if we talk about the capability, we talk about something happening. So if we talk about logistic resources, we usually talk about warehouse facilities, about the lorries, about personnel that you have in this field, know-how. If we talk about logistics capability, is actually how we use the store facility. And if we assume that you have logistics capability, means we assume that your people are using the resources they have very good. That's why usually capability, and there was a big debate, is associated with something good. It means it is already being capable. It's not about the potential of doing something, it's about being good in something. There was a big debate for about, I think, 7 or 8 years about whether we should define the capability as a potential or define a capability as a good result of doing something. And if you talk about the good result of doing something, then it becomes a bit tautological because you describe the result through itself. Logistics capability is capability to fulfill logistics. And this is a kind of bit tricky. But if you want to know more, you can read the debates about what is a capability, what it is not. And in the event of capability, the best way is to identify capability is to look at the value chain. And if you look at the value chain, we have two levels. We have the primary activities on the bottom, and we have the support activities on the top. And the primary activities are those that really create value. So we have the inbound logistics. It means the resources, the raw materials are being imported into firms. Then it goes to manufacturing or whatever you're doing, so operations. Then whatever you produced is going to be transferred from the production line conveyor belt to the storage facility. Then it goes to marketing and sales, those people who try to sell it to clients. And finally have the services like, contacting clients, guarantee cases, and supporting the clients in their usage of the resource of the product in the next years or months. And the primary activities are those that really create value. So you take the raw material, and out of the raw material you produce a product. Then you store the product because it has to be stored properly if you want to sell it, whatever good you're offering, but some goods require correct storaging. Then marketing and sales is how you add the value, explain to clients what they actually will get from it and how you bring it to the market and what they can do with it. And services, because services are also crucial for the value. If customers see that they have the high level of service, then of course they would like to work with the firm, continue working with the firm. Unfortunately, the value adding cannot work without supporting activities because you cannot produce without being able to hire people. So you need a human resource management. You wouldn't be able to produce products without the research and development, without the technology development function. You need the procurement. In order to make whatever you do, you have to buy equipment. You have to buy some resources that it's not like having the screws for the car, but sometimes you need the correct clothing for the personnel. You need to have the correct equipment for the personnel. You need to buy the gloves for the pharmaceutical companies, the latex gloves in order to do whatever you do. It is not creating value, but it is necessary because without these gloves, you wouldn't be able to create the high quality medicine or drug. And the film infrastructure is also needed because the facility has to run somehow, and people need to know that the toilets are working, electricity is there, that they have the water supply and all other things that they need, the kitchen and so on. So we have support activities. They don't bring value to the customer. It means the customer is not really willing to pay for it. The customer is willing to pay for the resources that you import, the raw materials. The customer is willing to pay for the production. The customer is willing to pay for the quality of services, but not for your HR management. That is why if we usually optimize the film, we start with the support activities where we try to do something, let's say, reduce something the customer is not willing to pay for. Why value chain? Because if you look at the value chain, you can already start identifying the capabilities, the inbound logistics capability, because all you see in the value chain is a thing that we are doing. So they're close to a capability. And you can try to evaluate whether you have a capability in this field or not. And how good is your capability? Is it like just a potential, like more capacity? You have facility, but you don't use it correctly? Or it's really about having not so much of storage, but using it in so much efficient that every inch of your storage facility is used for product storing, and your marketing and sales are very efficient and effective, and services are efficient and effective, and so on. So if we talk about this efficiency, effectiveness, productivity, we talk about working, doing, making. It means we talk about capabilities. It doesn't mean a firm has capability in all the fields, but if you want to discover what the firm's capability is, the best way is to start with this value chain, with this model, and try to find out whether a firm has capabilities in one of these doings. You can go deeper because within the infrastructure, you can have different departments or sub-departments that work with, let's say, electricity and water supply. And somebody in procurement, we have different types of procurement. I mean, the one thing are the rubber or latex gloves, and the other thing is the equipment for production of something. It means you can go even deeper, and you can go, again, even deeper and look at the individual competences, because at the end, there will be one single person working on something. And it can happen that actually this is the trick by the capability-based view. So they are not precisely defined. There are not like 3 types of capabilities or 3 forms, and you just need to find them. In every firm, they can be different, can be unique combinations. And this actually sounds complex, but this is also something that allows firm to be different on the market, differently competitive. In our previous lecture, that we don't have as a video, but you know it from class, my students know it from class, we compared it to firms. I showed it to products, the Honda motorcycle and the Harley Davidson motorcycles, and I selected the model, I think the Sportster, and from Honda the Steed. They look very similar. But what is behind this motorcycle, behind the product, is very different. Different structures, different cultures, different philosophy, different research and development, different technologies. They may look similar, but they rely on different technologies, especially in the event of the motor and how they produce different parts of the motorcycle. It means that firms can be competitive, although their product look very similar, but they can be differently competitive based on their capabilities. And this is actually what makes it so unique, interesting, but also hard to understand. And here I usually give an interesting example. I start talking about the core capability or core competence based on Prachelet and Hamel, 1991. And they said the core capability or core competence is a bundle of different small capabilities, things that firms can do. And they said that the core competence is not so obvious, and sometimes, I don't remember exactly, I think they give example of Philips, that actually their core competence is in optics and micromechanics. And all the product that you see is just a result of correctly applied capability. And they say the core competence is a kind of bundle of different competences and resources. So micro-optics, having equipment is not enough. You need to have the capability, but it's not enough if you don't have the micromechanics that will allow you to build from this optics and make them CD player or laser readers and something like this. And when we are here, and here you can make it as a thought experiment, you can maybe hit a pause button and try to resolve the task on your own. I ask about what is the core competence of Harley Davidson, what actually they are offering. And I was inspired by the case that we have in the book by Grant and Jordan, but mostly I would be interested to talk about something else. In this case, they talk about the unique product they're selling. They are not selling motorcycles, they are selling the American spirit. But I don't say it. Usually my students have to guess, and we have some discussion. And then I show them, instead of the Harley Davidson case, I show this video. And this video is about a motorcycling company, The Heist. They're called the Heist, American motorcycle company, a very small one, at least at the moment when I recorded the video. It was a small one. And they actually explain what they do and how they came to the market. And they produce motorcycles, this chopper-like looking motorcycles. They have their own design. They look pretty cool. Technology is very simple, let's say much more simple than by Honda or Harley Davidson. I have another video that I don't show here, where people drive 3 motorcycles from these 3 firms that are of comparable quality. And they say that most of them agree that Honda made a much better work and it's much more comfortable and so on, but the Heist has a better look. And then we discussed with my students and come to the idea that actually Honda is not a competitor of Harley Davidson. They have different philosophies, address different niches and so on. And the idea of selling American spirit, you cannot sell American spirit with a Japanese motorcycle. Even if you do it looking alike, it will not be the American spirit, it will be Japanese spirit. But the Heist is actually the key competitor, or used to be, I don't know whether they still exist, of Harley Davidson, just because they did exactly what Harley Davidson did. They wanted to make simple, affordable motorcycles. Harley Davidson is not affordable anymore, but it used to be. The quality is a kind of not the best one, but let's be honest, Harley Davidson, at least till the last years, were very bad in quality as compared to Japanese motorcycles. And they sold the spirit and they said that it is America, everything is possible, everybody can create whatever they want. And in this video, there is an interview with the owner of the company who says that many people told me you cannot compete against Harley Davidson, and said, no, it's America, I just want to create my own company, I want to show what I can, I want to create what I want and so on. And this is actually the spirit. It means they are the real competitors within the core competence. Exactly, they address the core competence of Harley Davidson and try to address it in this way. And I don't know, they don't have so much money as Harley had, but maybe they succeeded. Would be interesting to know what is the state of the art. So if you are into motorcycling, you can write in the comment section what is the state of the art and what you think about these motorcycles. So just interesting to know, but it is a good illustration about what the core competence is, how is it different from different capabilities. It is a combination of many things, not only American spirit. Of course, you have to offer the product and it has to look in a certain way, and you have to offer, Harley Davidson offers a lot of goodies like jackets and helmets with the Harley Davidson logo and so on. So this is how they create more or less, and the loyalty of the customers and all the employees of Harley Davidson should be motorcycle, at least they used to be, or they had to be motorcycling some years ago, motorcyclists. And this makes a kind of difference, but the Heist did actually pretty the same. That's why it's interesting to see what is going to happen next. Then, if we talk about the nature of capability, actually come to the most interesting and crucial point, especially for those who are going to undergo an exam with me, because the question is what is doing? How can you describe what this doing is? And how can you describe a capability? It's so hard. In my class, I ask my students during the first lecture, what are your capabilities? What can you do better than the others? And it was already very hard to define for yourself. If you want, you can hit the pause button and write about what are your capabilities. And we came up with the idea that first of all, it's hard to describe, but of course you can do it. And it's very often about the bundle. So like a core competence, you're not only somebody who is good in teaching, you have to combine also with the research and also with the way you present and many other things. This will make you unique as compared to others, because many people can teach, many people can do research, but the way you do research and you teach and your style will be a unique combination. And of course, it's the question, what is then the nature of the capability? What is it? And first of all, what we know that organizational capabilities are idiosyncratic. They're unique and difficult to capture. If you think about the capability of Apple for design, like many firms try to copy, especially Chinese firms, they try to copy their design and so on, but it's still not the same. And everybody knows if it comes from Apple or if it's just a copy of somebody else. Logitech tried to develop their own competence in this field. Porsche developed their own competence in this field, and you will never confuse Porsche with a different car. Although, I'll give you an example, the cars can be very, very similar. I think in this slide or next slide. And if these capabilities are so unique, if you ask yourself, where is the design capability of Apple located? It's very hard to respond. They have designers, but it's not about this. It's about overall philosophy of the company, about making things easily available, user-friendly, nicely looking, some luxury design and so on. So there are many things that are not within the head of one person. So it means it's somehow spread within an organization. And if it is the case, how can we capture it? How can we understand it? We know it's unique, but it's very difficult to capture, as with all the or almost all the capabilities of the firm. And they are like more elusive. We know they're there, we see it by the results, we see that they do it repetitively, and over years they continue with a good design. It means it was not a coincidence. Because you can become successful by coincidence. It can happen. You just went to the market, invested a few pounds, and all of a sudden you became successful and very rich. Can also happen, but it would be an exception. And if they do it regularly, it means they have the capability, most likely. That's why their distinctive capability in design is very hard to capture. We don't know where it is located. If you look at these two cars, what I have here, they have the same basis, they have the same chassis, they have, actually it is almost the same car. I think they even have the same motor. But because it's the same producers, VW produces also Audi and Volkswagen, or VW as they are called, but also Porsche, they all belong to VW. And they developed the same chassis, the same idea of the car, but it became VW Touareg, Audi Q7, or Porsche Cayenne. This is actually more or less the same car. So if you want to buy a Porsche Cayenne for less money, just go for VW Touareg. If you want to be in the middle, go for Audi Q7. But they're felt differently. If you sit within them, they are looking differently, and you will never confuse. If I would just, let's say, somehow close the logotype of these two cars, you will immediately understand what was Porsche and what is VW. And the same with Audi. So you cannot confuse VW with Audi. So they do a lot of stuff. So by design, you can already understand what is the difference. It means even within the same resources, the same basis that they develop within the concern of these firms, within the several firms, each of them, Porsche and VW and Audi, they found a different way how to create a product out of it to make it also unique. And again, can they copy? You can try to copy, but most likely will immediately understand what is the original, what is the copy, especially if you look at the cars. You know, there are many cars that try to kind of copy or introduce something similar, and you always know, so what is the Mini, what is the Bentley, and what is the, I don't know, the Jaguar. So idiosyncrasy, unique and difficult to capture. The second thing, if we talk about the nature of capability, are the routines. And here I usually tell the story. I cannot tell the names, but my students know that before I became a researcher, I used to work in different places. And when I was a master student in Germany many years ago, I found a job where I had to go to Sweden and lead German tourists through the Swedish hills, mountains, lakes, and so on. So I was a scout, received the group, and we moved into forests for the next 1-2 weeks and spend the time on, I don't know, making campfire, trekking somewhere, so doing a lot of interesting activities. And you learn there are a lot of interesting people. And there was a guy who was a kind of very introverted, silent, and once he said he would like to go for fishing, whether I could accompany him. He had the permission, he bought the permission, he was a fisher, he would like to do it. I said, okay, I can accompany because somebody has to paddle and the other one has to do fishing. And we started talking, and I said, and what are you doing? So, because we are the whole week together, but I have no idea what you do. And he said, I own McDonald's. I not own, but I have McDonald's in one of the cities. It was many years ago. It was in 2005, and I can tell you how he told me. Maybe it's not different, but it is what I heard from him. And he said, if you have a certain amount of money, you can buy the franchise from McDonald's. And at that moment, I think, I don't want to tell the price because maybe it was wrong. Maybe he said lower, higher price, but anyway, a big amount of money. And you can pick a city. It should be a city where there are no other McDonald's, so you can find one. That's why the biggest one, like Berlin and Munich and Bonn, they were already taken. You need to find a smaller one. And he took one from the Eastern Germany because after reunification of Eastern Western Germany, a lot of cities, they didn't have any McDonald's. He received not the best city, not the biggest one, but let's say sufficiently big. And then you have the permission, you're the only one who can build McDonald's there. At least that's what he told me. I don't know, true or false. I trust people. And what you pay for this money, let's say it was a big sum of money. It was about hundreds of thousands of, at that moment, I think, Deutschmark. Yeah, it was before 2000, so the euro has not been invented yet. And they have a building. You can select from certain types of buildings. The building is built, and they train you. And actually what they do is they have a kind of map, what you see on the right-hand side, And they have something like this where they have this is what I understood from his words. So the picture comes from internet, but from the one of the patterns about the kitchen, how it should be organized. And people know their place, they know their role, they know the people who are making meat, people who are working, composing the burgers, people who are selling stuff and so on. They usually can substitute each other, but what they do in the first line, they train people. They need to run and do a lot of burgers before they start selling them, because people have to be trained to create burgers of reliable quality. As you know, if it is a new McDonald's, I know it from a new Burger King in Frankfurt Main, there was a new one. I don't know how, but they managed to make one of the simplest burgers uneatable. So it was really, I don't know how they managed, but each time I went there for the first months of the opening, the quality was just terrible. The way it was composed and the way it was, some things were, let's say, not only about the look, but also they sometimes forgot something to add. It's kind of very interesting thing. But people learn it, and by this, they develop a routine. And a routine is a repetitive, recognizable pattern of interdependent actions carried out by multiple actors. And I think McDonald's example is a good way to show it. So people have to do something repetitively in a recognizable pattern. So those who are responsible, let's say, for meat, they do the work with meat. Those who are responsible for selling, they know how to work on the cashier desk. And those who are responsible for composing burgers, they know how to compose the burgers. And they have to make it many times repeatedly, and they have to interact with each other. Because if you prepare a nice bowl, I don't know how to call this, this piece of ham that you put into burger, it doesn't mean the next one will compose a good burger out of it. So they need to really work well. And if the one makes a mistake, then the final burger will look not so nice. Or if the cashier desk person will be not so polite, and we have negative experience of the customer that will relate to the whole McDonald's and not only to the one person. And through these routines, we develop a kind of organizational habits. And I think a colleague of mine, Klaus Schrerup, in their paper, they call it organizational habits. So the way things are done here. And if you think about these habits, they become the key, the core of organizational capabilities. Capability is something that we do, and we do continuously, and we do it repeatedly, and that's why we achieve some success. Like Apple with their design, or Porsche Cayenne with their cars, and also their design, and also their sporty interior and exterior, and the way how the user feels if he or she gets into a Porsche car. So this is very different, and can be very different based on what kind of habits you develop. Here comes the trick that I thought it is my thought, but I discovered it was thought of a colleague of mine. We joined to work on a book chapter, so probably I read it, and I thought it's my genius idea, but it seems to be his idea, that every capability is a routine, but not every routine is a capability. So if you have the capability, it is rooted in your habit, the thing that you develop, that you do well, that you organize, that you do in interdependent actions by multiple actors in recognized pattern ways. So you know it's logistics capability and can be confused with procurement capability, because there are different patterns and you can recognize them. But not every routine is a capability. So every capability is a routine, but not every routine is a capability, because you can develop bad habits. And if your habit is to check data twice, then probably it will have very positive impact on your statistics capability. But if you develop a habit to postpone everything for the last day, then probably it will have very negative impact on your capability. So behind each capability, there is a routine, but not every routine becomes a capability. And I think this example of McDonald's illustrates this very well. And then you develop it, and the capabilities give you some potential and some flexibility. If you go to McDonald's and see that they sometimes have Italian weeks, it means they just do burgers from a different type of bread, and they also add a different sauce, but actually at the end it is the same burger. And if you develop a capability to assemble burgers well, then you will also manage to do it in Italian style. And then you have the Bavarian weeks at McDonald's and so on. So the capability, if well developed, gives you also opportunity to be good not only in certain specific tasks, but also going broader and become like burger making capability. Doesn't really matter what kind of week you have at the moment at McDonald's. If you want to develop the new capability, you have to develop it. You have to remember that the capabilities are path dependent, because when you develop, the better you become in something, the more of positive feedback and the more you want to focus on it. And this is about the path dependency theory. We have with my students a lecture about it. If you're interested in this lecture, let me know in the comment section. Maybe I can record it for you. But what we know from capabilities, from the book of Grant and Jordan, and also from the paper of me and Professor Mormon, is actually that they can be formatively formed. It means there are 4 pieces that are needed for them. And the first one, they should be rooted in processes and not in individual skills. So it's about processes, not skills, because the process involves many people. And if one person goes away, another one can jump in. The company can have the capability, can retain the capability. If your capability disappears when one of your employees leaves the organization, then it was not the organizational capability, it was individual capability of this person leaving the organization. And processes should be efficient, repeatable, reliable. So it's like more or less about the routines. Process is the formalized routine. Routines are not formalized, and many things are the habits that are not described to still do them. Then the next thing that is needed is the structure, the appropriate structure. And many researchers say that if you want to develop a capability, you want to develop a new one, you have to bring those people who develop this capability together into one department. And an example, what they give in the book, I think it is IBM, when they decided to make a personal computer. They brought people from different departments into one separate location, said you have to develop it. You will be free from the organizational culture of IBM, because IBM had some rules. They decided they will reduce these rules for these people, and they developed the personal computers working there. But there can be exceptions, as we know from what was the company, Whirlpool. They decided, instead of creating the division that will be responsible for ideation and innovation, they decided to spread it through the whole company. But it is rather an exception. In the Whirlpool, they required from all employees at all levels, whatever they do, they had to report what is the innovation level, what is innovative, and whatever they do. Even if you clean the floor, you had to explain what was innovative, which led to the fact that they really developed a lot of interesting ideas coming from all over the organization. So it was an interesting approach, but it's rather seldom. You need to have motivated personnel, because again, it's about doing. But if you don't want to do, or you don't want to do it well, if you're demotivated, most likely, even if you have the resources, if you develop the routine, but in the times, in the days, in the months when you're demotivated, the capability may die. That's what we see by many organizations who get into decline because of the market failure, because of the other problems, because of some politicians come into power, or let's say managers from this company come into politics and doing something that people dislike. New company management that comes to play, and they demotivate people, and all of a sudden the capability that they had disappears. Actually, it didn't disappear. We have the routine, we have the knowledge, we have the skill, we have the resources. People just don't want to do it, or are demotivated and do it not well. And finally, we need organizational alignment. It means your organization has to be able and willing to accept your capability. Imagine that the management told us to develop this new PC and put the people who work on this one, or your logistics capability, as Amazon wanted to develop their own logistics capability a few years ago. Usually they relied on Post, and then they decided to develop their own logistics capability. Your organization has to be able and willing to accept this knowledge. Imagine that you developed it, you bring the new PC, and they say, okay, nicely done, go away. We don't need it. We got used to old way of working. And you develop something and it is not needed, and it means the capability will not appear just because organization is not willing, not able, don't have capacities to work with it. Unfortunately, it happens very often. We used to work with a bank that decided to make something I call a digital island, where it put people who had to develop new projects. And the idea was actually that these people come back to their departments and bring the knowledge innovation with them in departments. What actually happened, they came back and they were forced to work as everybody works. And the innovation kind of died there, but it also demotivated these people, because they saw that I tried to do best, I learned something new, I went to this, I call it digital island for a few months or a few years, I learned a lot of skills and nobody needs them. So this is also how you can kill a capability. And actually that was it. If you want to know more, here are some references. And now I want to go to one of the questions. It was a sample question from my exam. And I gave it to my students, but at that moment, they haven't attended this lecture, so they wouldn't know what to answer and how to answer this question. And the sample question was, please agree or disagree with the statement below. Explain in 2-3 sentences why you agree or disagree. And you can get 8 points for this question. And the question was, I argue that the quote by Sun Tzu explains why capabilities are crucial for protection of our business from being copied. And the quote was, all men can see these tactics whereby I conquer, but what none can see is the strategy out of which victory is evolved. And as you see already, I talk about capabilities. So for those who are my students, look for some indication in the topic what I'm looking for, and it is about the capabilities definitely, and about strategy, and about how we apply it. And here would be my answer to this question again. So my students have seen it, but now I think they can reflect better on it. As an organizational capability represents a complex routine, it means patent interactions of personnel with each other and other firms' resources, and as capabilities are idiosyncratic, it means they are unique and hard to capture. Competitors may see only the final outcome but are not able to understand how this outcome appeared. Consequently, competitors will see the tactics or how we act right now. Yet, organizational capabilities are a strategic level concept that is deliberately developed based on our firm's resources, competencies, strategic goals, and so on. It means strategy will remain obscure to the competitors, and also good learning for you if you want to develop a capability, if you want to develop competitive advantage that cannot be easily copied. Focus not on the resources, focus on the capabilities, because they are hard to copy, hard to understand, and still you can enjoy your competitive advantage. I hope it was helpful and interesting. Wish you all the best, and let me know in the comment section what you think about the lecture. Give your comments and let me know if you want me to make more recordings to this topic. Bye bye.